First, in HD, this is 13 Eyewitness News at 6.
It was the video that stunned the city. Houston Police Chief Charles McClellan's car plowing into a pedestrian, sending that man flying into the air. Now, for the first time since the crash, we're hearing from that man just minutes after his arm was broken. Plus,
a man murdered in his home in Pearland. I'm Foti Kalurgis. Coming up, why police believe his dog may be a key piece in finding his killer.
and a suspected drunk driver slams into a police cruiser, sending a woman prisoner flying out of that squad car and to her death. Now the dead woman's fiance wants to know why she wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
And good evening, friends. I'm Dave Ward.
And I'm Gina Gaston.
New tonight, we are finally hearing from the man who was struck by a car driven by Houston Police Chief Charles McClellan downtown last month.
Chief McClellan was suspended without pay for 1 day after the crash that left James Harris with a broken arm. 13 Undercover's Brian Hollister has uncovered video of the statement that Harris gave to police that day. Brian?
The victim in this case, James Harris, has declined our request to talk on camera since the accident. But today, HPD released video of Harris telling his side of the story just after the crash. The video of the accident last month at the intersection of Clay and Travis is stunning. A car plowing into a pedestrian, sending him flying into the air. You've seen the shocking video, but now you can finally hear from the man who was run down by Houston Police Chief Charles McClellan. Today, HPD released this video statement from the victim, attorney James Harris. Don't adjust your set. It was shot out of focus for some unknown reason. But you can clearly hear Harris describe what happened.
When the light turned green, I proceeded into the intersection or the crosswalk. Next thing I know, I guess I got hit by the car, because the next thing I know I could just see the hood of the car, and then I just landed on got hit on the right side, landed on my right side on the ground.
Harris broke his arm. This is a picture of his cast after he was released from the hospital. But it's also clear from his blurry statement that this was more than just a minor incident, as described by the chief.
It knocked the wind out of me, and I pretty much was, I guess, rolling on the ground, but my arm hurt and trying to get my breath. And then, of course, everybody was around me. And
Now, you say everybody, like who was around?
I think the first person I saw was, I guess, who might have been the officer.
That officer was, of course, the chief of police. But the accident victim apparently wasn't told that, even hours later while being questioned in the hospital by HPD investigators.
I hold myself to a higher standard.
As for McClellan, he got a day off of work with no pay and no traffic citation.
That day off without pay may be 10 times more than the max that I could receive from a citation.
HPD also released today this. These are the chief's cell phone bills for his city-paid cell phone. On the day of the accident, it shows 2 phone calls to HPD headquarters just 2 minutes after the crash. The records do not show whether or not he was texting or using his phone in any other way at the time of the accident. You can see the full video statement from James Harris on our website. Brian Hollister, 13 Undercover.
A prisoner was killed while she was still in handcuffs. A Houston police officer was transporting that woman to a sobering center when a suspected drunk driver slammed into the officer's cruiser.
Well, the officer only had minor injuries, but the woman being transported was thrown from the vehicle, and she later died from her injuries. That accident happened near downtown on Chartres in Texas, and now HPD is facing some questions about why that woman wasn't wearing a seatbelt when she was inside the squad car. Eyewitness News reporter Damon Fernandez joining us live with more. Damon.
Dave, criminal charges of intoxication manslaughter have just been filed against the driver involved in that crash this morning. But I can tell you right now, the victim's fiance and friends are gathering back here in Alvin, wondering whether her death could have been prevented.
She was my world. She was everything to me. I'm sorry.
Andrew Durham is fighting back tears remembering his fiancée, Caroline Nicolai. The 21-year-old woman died after an accused drunk driver, who police have identified as Nicole Moser, crashed this Chevy Cobalt into an HPD patrol car in downtown Houston Wednesday morning. Police say Nicolai was in the back seat of the patrol car at the time.
And then I waited outside for about 3.5 hours for her to come home, and she just never came home.
Investigators say that crash left Moser and her passenger with head injuries. The officer who was transporting Nicolai to the city's sobering center suffered injuries, and the impact forced Nicolai from the patrol car. Police say she was handcuffed and unrestrained in the seatbelt at the time. According to Houston Police procedures for transporting prisoners, the policy dictates officers should properly secure prisoners in seat belts and shoulder harnesses. Now, in addition to the intoxication manslaughter investigation, HPD's Internal Affairs Unit is investigating the actions of the officer involved.
Top of mind, I want to know what the officer was thinking and why she didn't restrain her properly, knowing that it's 3 a.m., there's people driving around drunk. And I want to know what they're going to do about that. Because I'm sorry, just oh, you messed up, don't do it again, is not acceptable in my book.
And tonight, several police sources are telling me that the officer involved in that crash is very traumatized right now. I'm told that she's been with HPD for at least 15 years. In Alvin, Damon Fernandez, 13 Eyewitness News.
Now to a murder mystery in Pearland. A man was found dead inside his home, and police believe the killer may have tried to cover up the crime and eliminate all of the evidence. Police went to the man's home on Pender near Glen Cullen after his co-workers became concerned when he missed work. Eyewitness News reporter Fody Kalergis joins us live from the scene with more. Fody?
Yeah, Gina, good evening. And police are calling this a brutal and puzzling murder. Detectives do have two pieces to this murder investigation that could blow this case wide open. One of them is a fire that happened at the victim's home, a fire that could have been an attempt to cover up this killing.
From the outside, you can see evidence of a fire inside 51-year-old Juanario Rosas' home, where he was found dead. The blinds melted and peeled back.
Did you see any smoke or anything out of there?
We never saw nothing come out. Nobody.
Close neighbor Janice, who did not want her face shown on camera, pointed out two holes on the roof of the home, also caused by the fire. Neighbors say they never heard a fire truck come by. The fire was out before Rosas' co-workers came knocking Sunday night.
A couple of co-workers of Mr. Rosas reported that he hadn't been to work, and they were concerned about him. They went out to the house to see if he was there. They had reason to believe he was home.
When police went in, they found Rosas dead in his bedroom. They say he was killed in a violent attack. The killer, someone he knew. Few clues left in the home. Police say the case is going cold and fast.
I'd see him maybe 2-3 times out of the month, walking his dog, and that was it.
That dog, a poodle mix named Ace, was taken from the home after the murder. Finding Ace, police say, could lead them closer to Rosas' killer.
We were just good neighbors. And now somebody took him from me, and it's not right. And they should be punished.
And back live in Pearland, we did reach out to the Pearland Fire Marshal, and he did say that the fire at Rosas' home is being treated as a fire investigation. Not ready yet to say that this is an arson investigation. No further details were given to us this evening. Now, police do want to hear from anyone who may have any information as far as where Rosas was before the killing. They want to hear from you. If you have that information, you're asked to give them a call. Live in Pearland this evening, Fody Kalergis, 13 Eyewitness News.
A Cleveland school district bus driver who accidentally left a child on the bus is now officially off the job. Another bus driver found that pre-K student inside the bus at the district's transportation center. The district says the child fell asleep on the bus and the driver failed to check all of the rows of seats. The child was on the bus alone for only about 10 minutes before being found. The district says the bus driver violated policy and the driver has since resigned. We have an update now on a woman accused of leaving her 10-month-old daughter strapped in a car seat on a street in southwest Houston. LaTanya Moore was sentenced to probation today. Police say Moore was high on PCP when she put her baby on the trunk of her car, got in the car, then drove away. Well, the little girl fell face first on the ground, but fortunately was not seriously hurt.
The search for an officer's stolen gun is now over. This all began about 8 o'clock this morning near Chavez High School. The district says an HISD officer got into an altercation with the suspect, and the suspect took the officer's gun and ran off. Well, that suspect, who is not a student, returned to the school this afternoon with the gun. Charges are now pending. And Sky HD caught the end of a chase in northeast Harris County. Deputy constables arresting 2 adults and 3 juveniles. The chase began when a deputy tried to stop a stolen pickup truck. A group of students skipping school with their classmates was inside. That driver is now facing charges for allegedly trying to hit a deputy.
It is day 2 of the government shutdown, and President Obama wants lawmakers to make today the last day. The president invited congressional leaders to sit down with him at the White House, but there's no indication that anyone is changing their tune. and economic consulting firm IHS Global Insight predicts the shutdown is costing about $300 million per day in work and services since the government is unable to perform while it furloughs 800,000 federal employees. Eyewitness News reporter Ted Oberg is live in Washington now with more. Ted?
Hey Dave, here's some breaking news on this whole thing that after a couple days of no news may seem like good news. Take a look at this outside the White House. Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, both Democrats, emerging from a White House meeting with John Boehner and Mitch McConnell and President Obama. It is good news in the sense that they talked for 90 minutes, but bad news because they didn't agree to do anything. There was no movement, no negotiating that would end this shutdown that is costing you hundreds of millions and hurting thousands of our neighbors. Outside the Capitol, furloughed federal workers are frustrated at being stuck in the middle of two political parties who haven't stopped talking at each other long enough to speak with one another.
We can't say how soon it will end, but I am confident that the government shutdown is going to come to an end because we in the Congress have a responsibility that I hope the Senate will recognize to sit down, negotiate, find areas of agreement.
But it hasn't happened.
Reid and Obama need to negotiate for the American people. This is not about politics. They do need to come to the table.
Today, Houston area Republican representatives came together to discuss the shutdown, but Texas area Democrats weren't invited to this conference call. They are, though, equally eager to get past this.
My hope is that it won't be a week or 2 weeks. My hope is that we'll end it today.
Everyone we spoke to is keenly aware of the cost of all of this. It is not just disappointed tourists who can't get into museums, but the thousands of federal workers who aren't getting paychecks. In Houston, NASA workers supporting astronauts are on the job, but thousands of others are home off the job, and they won't get paid Friday. That's where the bulk of the $300 million a day cost comes from. In the past, Congress has given them retroactive pay.
These people have done nothing wrong. They want to work. We've told them you can't work. We can't take their paychecks away from them.
This time around, they hope to do the same.
They'll be paid retroactively once we get through this mess.
But there's no guarantee, and at this point, until the shutdown ends, there's no check at all.
I am going to fight for every furloughed person to be paid properly.
That was Ted Oberg reporting, and our team coverage of this government shutdown will continue on Eyewitness News at 6:30. Coming up, reporter Tom Abrams will have more on how the shutdown is impacting the bottom line right here in Houston. And while this shutdown is not funny, some people are deciding to make the best of it.
Social media flirts are using Twitter to share some of their best shutdown-themed pickup lines. And here are some that caught our eye. All of the tweets use the hashtag #ShutdownPickupLines. One guy tweets, "Hey girl, why don't we start our own healthy exchange?"
Well, Sarah tweeted, "Baby, my love for you is filibuster proof."
And Alex tweeted, "You may not have back pay, but baby, you got back." We didn't make these up, folks. We want to hear your best shutdown pickup lines. We hope that you'll join the conversation right now on our Facebook page.
Well, still ahead, this government shutdown is having one positive ripple effect here in Houston.
It is causing gas prices to drop, and we're live at one of the cheapest gas stations in the city. But first, Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller joining us now live with a look at the weather. Tim?
Well, the temperature started off pretty warm this morning in the 70s, but the clouds and the rain coming in this afternoon helped keep us in the mid-80s and even cooled us back into the 70s while it was raining. In Houston, our high today 86 is pretty typical. Galveston 87. Do have a couple of warmer days ahead of us before that weekend cool front moves in.
You're watching ABC 13, Houston's news leader, live with Dave Ward, Gina Gaston, Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller, and Sports with Greg Bailey. This is 13 Eyewitness News, Houston news leader.
Well, the government shutdown is having a ripple effect throughout the entire U.S. economy, and that includes at the gas pump. Prices are on the decline, and the shutdown could push them even lower. Eyewitness News reporter Simon Gutierrez is live in Southwest Houston, where a gallon of gas is now less than $3. Simon?
Yeah, the price at the pump here, if you pay cash, is $2.95 a gallon. We talked to some folks who said they waited all the way until their tanks were on empty, running on fumes before they filled up here to get as much of that cheap gas into their tanks as possible. According to GasBuddy.com, the cheapest prices in all of the Houston area today were at Costco on Southwest Freeway in Sugar Land, $2.85 a gallon there. The Gulf Station on the South Freeway at Holcomb came in second at just 10 cents more. Experts tell us it's a combination of factors driving the prices down. First, the end of the summer driving season means demand for gas has gone down. Also, manufacturers, because of cooler weather by law, can skip a step in the process that reduces emissions, and that means supply is high. Finally, there's the government shutdown, which has the stock market worried about a slowdown in the economy, which is also driving down prices.
Crude prices have been especially sensitive to stock market concerns, economic concerns, ever since the financial collapse.
Overall, gas prices are down 40 cents a gallon to what they were at the same time last year. Experts, though, warn this is temporary, that prices will eventually trend back upward. Of course, we can't enjoy it while it lasts. We're live south of downtown. Simon Gutierrez, 13 Eyewitness News.
Now, Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller with the ABC 13 AccuWeather forecast.
And there was more rain around the area today, but is any more coming?
I think no more tonight, but there may be a few more isolated showers the next couple of days, and then even a few more when that cool front arrives here later on this weekend. Today, though, those heavy tropical downpours really kind of soaking some folks. Linda Stahl down in Manville says she had almost 1.5 inches of rain in her rain gauge there. This is what it looked like in downtown Houston with the burst of heavy rain moving through in the afternoon hours. Although at this hour, the skies have dried up and we're left behind with some tropical moisture in the atmosphere in the form of just a few clouds. Temperatures have been held down because of the rain. Right now we're at 80 degrees in Houston. Winds are out of the east at 9 miles an hour. 87%, that's your humidity. Still makes it feel warm and muggy out there. Dew points in the sultry 70s. A little more cloud cover out here in Galveston, but checked radar and there's nothing falling from those clouds right now. Should be pretty at sunset. 82 degrees your temperature with winds east-southeast at 9 and dew points here still in the upper 70s down in Galveston. This is what it looked like in the satellite and radar earlier this morning into the afternoon hours. You can see how the showers initially start near the coast and then build across the area. Some of these bands of rain were oriented north to south, which is the direction the rain was moving. So a couple of areas you got a few bursts of heavy rain, one right after the other, and that's what accounted for some of the heavier accumulation. But right now things are dry in our part of the state, and we are really the only part of the state that saw significant rainfall today. Plenty of sunshine up toward Dallas, just a few clouds at this hour. Their temperatures in the upper 80s, near 90 this afternoon, low 90s, mid 90s in a few spots out west. Lubbock still in with 92. It's 93 in Midland, but their air out there is a lot drier. They're on the north side of this kind of washed out boundary, so the warm and not so humid air heating up very quickly, while our temperatures here held down this afternoon because of the clouds. That little front is going to wash out of the atmosphere here tonight and tomorrow, and I really don't think we're going to see much in the way of rain tomorrow afternoon. I'm not going to rule out an isolated shower. You can still see a few specks of blue here, but this upper level low that's been helping to produce the rain is moving off the map out of our area, so the chances of getting wet, I think, are a little bit lower tomorrow. We're not going to see as much rain in the radar as what we saw today. Friday, the same story here. Again, maybe an isolated shower or two, but a lot of this depends on what's developing out here in the Gulf of Mexico. This is a little tropical disturbance we've been tracking to the Caribbean. High probability now this could get a name, Karen, as it moves from the Yucatan up across the central part of the Gulf. But I'm not concerned about it, at least for us. It looks like that moisture will be headed in toward the central Gulf Coast. The reason it's not coming here because of our cool front. The front that'll move through here Saturday night and start to drop our temperatures. Until it gets here, it's going to be warm. Tomorrow's high back up to 90 degrees after 71 in the morning, 88 in Pearland, 90 up in Tomball. Going to go for 87 degrees tomorrow afternoon down in Galveston. Forecast for the next 7 days. We've got a 20% chance of rain in the forecast here for Thursday and Friday. As we get into Saturday and Sunday, those rain chances, sorry about that, those rain chances go back up. In fact, we'll find the rain chance about 40% for Saturday, and then the rain chances drop off on Sunday. And not only the rain chances drop out, but those temperatures drop as well on Sunday.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Now let's take a look at what's coming up here at 6:30.
Eyewitness News anchor Alona Carson joins us live with a preview. Alona?
Dave and Gina, it is time for your weekly restaurant report. We're going to show you what took us all by surprise this week. Plus,
I'm Kevin Quinn. Allegations of another potential gang rape here in the city of Cleveland. Coming up new on the News at 6, what police say allegedly happened here.
The shutdown in Washington already having a little bit of an impact here in Houston. I'm Tom Abrams at City Hall. I'll tell you what it all means.
we will have those stories and more coming up on Eyewitness News at 6:30 in just a few minutes. Gina.
All right. Thanks, Alona. Well, coming up straight ahead here at 6, furloughed federal employees may feel abandoned by the government, but some businesses are stepping up to show them support. Coming up, a furlough freebie. Well, Matt Schaub still feeling the pressure after the Texans lost to the Seahawks.
And sports director Greg Bailey joining us now with more. Greg?
Hey, David, Gina, if Matt Schaub can handle the 49ers defense as well as he handles the scathing criticism from some irate fans this week, Texans might have every shot to get right back on track. Today, all eyes on the Texans quarterback after Sunday's crippling interception. Schaub assuring us he's been able to move on, and he saves his best answer of the day for the fans who burned his jersey outside of the stadium after Sunday's loss.
I don't think anything about that. You know, that's someone's choice, and you know, my goal is just to make sure, you know, when we get done this thing at the end of this year, he's going back out and he's going to get one to wear.
The other part of the Texans' ability to get back on track, the reaction from Schaub's teammates to all of this, the interception, the loss, and more. A wide range of responses today, including one star player who is still angry. It's coming up in the next half hour.
Okay, thank you, Greg, and we'll be right back. And before we go this evening, there is such a thing as a free lunch if you're a furloughed government worker. Pork Barrel Barbecue in Alexandria, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, is offering a free pulled pork sandwich to any government worker with a valid ID. They are scoring points with those off the job because of the government shutdown. Governor Bill Blackburn says he gave away nearly 300 free sandwiches yesterday, and they're doing the same thing again today. But he's also taking a dig at the lawmakers. No free sandwiches to any members of Congress. After all, they're still getting paid.
Yeah, indeed they are. And that's it for us. Now join anchors Alona Carson and Eric Barajas for Eyewitness News at 6:30.
Thank you for being with us. Join us again tonight at 10. Until then, good evening.
First in HD, this is 13 Eyewitness News at 6:30.
Police are investigating the sexual assault of a teenager in Cleveland. We'll have a live report coming up.
Also ahead, it is your weekly restaurant report. We're going to break down which restaurants had violations this week. Plus,
I'm Carla Barriarena. A 17-year-old Baytown girl is being questioned after police say she shot and killed a friend. Coming up, we'll tell you why police say she did it.
But we begin tonight with the latest on the government shutdown. Good evening, I'm Alona Carson.
And I'm Eric Barajas. Thanks for joining us. The president and congressional leaders just wrapped up a meeting at the White House to talk about resolving the two-day-old government shutdown. The president met with Republican House Speaker John Boehner, as well as Democratic leaders. There's not much to report tonight. Boehner says the president is refusing to negotiate on the government shutdown. For their part, Democratic leaders say Republicans are, quote, moving the goalposts on a budget deal. Republicans in the House have refused to vote for Democratic legislation that would end the shutdown because there are no changes to the Affordable Health Care Act. Until the differences are worked out, the government agencies remain shut down and hundreds of thousands of federal employees are furloughed.
So how is the government shutdown impacting the city of Houston? It could mean some tough decisions for city leaders as they try to cover some programs without federal help. Eyewitness News reporter Tom Abrams live outside of City Hall with a story that's all new at 6:30. Tom?
Alona, it is a question without a lot of answers right now, but we know less than 36 hours into this shutdown. So far, so good for the city of Houston, but that will only last for so long. The federal government shutdown in Washington is impacting City Hall. The mayor talking about it this morning and what it means for the nation's fourth largest municipality. The city does rely on tens of millions of dollars in federal grants for after-school programs, policing initiatives, and public health. Some of the money it gets up front, some of it is reimbursement. And while the city has the money to cover any shortfall for now, a long-term shutdown could affect the bottom line and some city services. So that was a story that you can find on abc13.com to basically tell you very quickly. The city gets tens of millions of dollars in federal funding from the government. Some of that money they get up front, no problem there. Some of that money, however, is reimbursed, and that's where the city gets concerned as this shutdown drags on. So far, there's no real cut in services, but that might change if this drags on for some time. There were 7 employees who are federal employees that work within the city, all of them at the health department. They were furloughed, but were told by the city health department that at this point, that is not affecting services. Reporting live from downtown, Tom Abrams, 13 Eyewitness News.
Good breakdown, Tom. Thank you. Our coverage of the government shutdown continues on our website. As Tom mentioned, abc13.com. You can also download our ABC 13 News app for your smartphone so you can get alerts at any time.
Well, tonight, police in Cleveland are investigating what could be described as the gang rape of a teenager. We're told the crime happened over the weekend at an abandoned home. Eyewitness News reporter Kevin Quinn is live in Cleveland tonight with a story that's all new at 6:30. Kevin?
Yeah, Eric, Cleveland police at this point not saying much about the allegations, saying they first learned about them last night. They do tell us it is, though, quite possible that more than one person sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl. There is still crime scene tape draped across the driveway of what neighbors tell us is an abandoned home in Cleveland. They say police descended upon the house this morning.
Just went in there with some little tow boxes, buckets, to get evidence and stuff out the house.
Joanne Jedkins was among those who watched curiously. Only later did she hear what police said about a 15-year-old girl allegedly being sexually assaulted inside.
It's wrong because the girl, she was too young, for them to do her like that.
Police say the girl's parents reported the attack last night, but it supposedly occurred last weekend at the house, sometime between September 27th through the 29th. Those who live nearby say they did not see anything unusual at that time.
Once again, we're going through this same thing that we went through a few years back, and it was hurtful for our community.
That neighbor who did not want to be identified says Cleveland is still viewed negatively because of the startling case in 2010. An 11-year-old girl gang raped by a group of young men. 6 juveniles and 6 adults ended up pleading guilty. 2 were convicted. More recently, the city of Cleveland has been working to remove dilapidated and abandoned homes. Neighbors say this is proof that there is more work yet to be done.
If they would tear down some of the abandoned houses, this will help cut a lot of the confusion down, the rape and anything else that's going on.
But the city's budget passed just last week did not provide funding for further such efforts. Now, police tell us that alleged victim has been examined by doctors at a Houston area hospital. Meantime, there are no charges at this point, no arrests. This investigation, we are told, continues. We're live in Cleveland tonight. Kevin Quinn, 13 Eyewitness News.
Police in Baytown are investigating the shooting death of a 22-year-old man tonight, and investigators believe a teenage girl was the person who pulled the trigger. Eyewitness News reporter Carla Barguerena is live in Baytown tonight. Carla?
That 17-year-old claims she shot the victim in self-defense, but we've learned within the last hour investigators aren't buying that story and will be seeking murder charges. Tiffany Head is tonight mourning the loss of her brother, 22-year-old Dustin Head. Investigators tell us Head was shot and killed by 17-year-old Haley Carosi. It all happened at the suspect's home in the 700 block of Kilgore. The friends apparently began arguing over money just before 3 this morning when the suspect pulled a high-powered rifle and shot the victim in the back.
It's not like my son was breaking in their house or doing anything bad, but they had to shoot him with a high-powered rifle. It's not right.
4 years ago, Connie had buried her oldest son in a shooting. Now she is planning on burying the only son she had left. We're live in Baytown tonight. I'm Carla Barguerena, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, we'll have your weekly restaurant report coming up. It's a bit out of the ordinary. Also ahead, more bad news for BlackBerry. Letting go thousands of employees is going to cost more than expected. And check out these fancy phones. A luxury phone maker has unveiled its newest model. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller for a quick look at your forecast.
And Eric, let's check in with our Eyewitness Storm Spotters to see how much rain fell across the area earlier today. Just under 1.5 inches in Manville. Up in Magnolia, Casey said just over a ½ inch there. Probably not as many showers tomorrow, but the cool front Saturday may generate a little thunder. We'll talk about it in your forecast.
You're watching ABC 13, Houston's news leader, live with Eric Barajas and Ilona Carson. This is 13 Eyewitness News at 6:30.
The Washington Post officially has a new owner tonight. The Washington Post Company completed the sale of the paper to the founder of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, this week. Bezos agreed to purchase the paper in August for $250 million, and he's buying the paper as an individual. Amazon.com is not involved with the sale.
All right, let's talk jobs. A payroll processing company says the private sector added 166,000 jobs last month. ADP says that's little improvement from July to August and slightly below what economists had predicted. This jobs report is likely the only one we'll be getting this week because the Bureau of Labor Statistics is mostly closed because of the government shutdown. Now, while the government remains closed, another issue is looming on the horizon. You're going to hear a lot about the debt ceiling. The federal government expected to hit the $16.7 trillion debt ceiling coming up on October 17th. That means the Treasury runs out of money to pay bills unless lawmakers authorize additional funding. A new CNN poll finds 56% of Americans think it would be bad if the debt ceiling was not raised. 39% say it is a good thing for the country.
Now to some tech news. There is more bad news for BlackBerry. The company says its business is in even worse shape than originally thought. BlackBerry now estimates that the 4,500 employees the company is laying off will cost $400 million. That's 4 times what they previously expected. The company is having major financial problems as people switch to other smartphone platforms. Okay, speaking of smartphones, luxury brand Vertu released its newest smartphone. The Constellation has a 5-inch screen that's made of sapphire crystal. Every phone is handmade at a factory in England and features a button on the phone that instantly connects you to a concierge. The phone runs on Google's Android operating system and starts at only $5,000.
My 4-year-old could ruin it in seconds, I guarantee it. All right, health inspectors found all sorts of violations during the week, and we've seen just about everything from food off temperature to rodent infestations. But tonight there was something that took us all by surprise. Action 13's Jeff Ealing here with this week's restaurant report. A little bit disturbing, Jeff.
Yeah, Ilona, there really is no nice way to say this, so we're just going to tell you what the health inspectors found at Fufu Restaurant in Bel Air. They saw an employee killing a fish by striking it on the floor. Now, not only is this inhumane, according to some, but it's also unsanitary, according to health inspectors. That fish was condemned. Up next, we're going to go over to Cafe Ginger at 1952 West Gray, where 16 pounds of raw chicken was condemned. Also, soup and egg rolls were thrown out for not being held at the proper temperature in the reach-in cooler. Up next, we're going to go to Southeast Houston at 4429 Griggs Road. Family Dollar. Hey, they sell food and they get inspected. An inspector found food items on the shelves that looked like they were bitten by rodents and a heavy presence of rodent droppings. That had to all be cleaned up. And finally, Rucci's over off of Richmond Street temporarily closed because of roaches. The health inspector said that the insects were crawling on the food prep table in the storage area and on the floors. Up next, the Big S. All of these restaurants had the exact same problem. JoJo's, Los Halakis, Mandarin, Hunan Chinese, and Confucius Seafood, they all had black slime in their ice machine. Folks, we can only show you a couple of restaurants, but hundreds make the list each week. And if you want to see if your favorite restaurant made the list, all you got to do is go to our website, abc13.com. We have interactive maps. You can search by zip code or by your favorite restaurant name. It's always on abc13.com. Reporting live, Jeff Ealing, 13 Eyewitness News.
Beaten fish and slime in the ice machine, Jeff. Thanks a lot. All right, Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller has your forecast coming up. Plus, there's a verdict in the wrongful death lawsuit against the King of Pop's concert promoter.
And coming up tonight at 10, they promise optimum performance for your vehicle, but do they really work? Tonight, we take a closer look at fuel additives. We hope you'll join us at 10.
A jury has rejected the claim that a concert promoter was negligent in Michael Jackson's death. The verdict was read in a California courtroom just about an hour ago. Jackson's mother, Catherine, had sued concert promoter AEG Live over the hiring of Dr. Conrad Murray. He was convicted of involuntary manslaughter after giving Michael Jackson an overdose of the anesthetic propofol in 2009. Catherine Jackson was seeking hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Well, this is tough to look at. Officials in Tennessee say at least 8 people died when a church bus blew a tire and crashed into an 18-wheeler and an SUV. This happened in northeastern Tennessee this afternoon. Officials say the bus crossed the median and hit the oncoming traffic. 14 people were injured. Interstate 40 remains closed right now because of the investigation.
We are talking autos now. BMW recalling thousands of cars because of a problem with the power braking system. The recall affects about 76,000 cars in the U.S. and an additional 100,000 internationally. Now, the recall covers 2012 to 2014 vehicles with 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged engines. 3 Series, 5 Series, and SUVs are among those cars being recalled. BMW will notify affected drivers by mail. Well, Chrysler is recalling 132,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees and nearly 11,000 Ram pickups because of a software glitch. The recall affects vehicles from 2014 model year, and Chrysler says the glitch could cause warning lights to randomly flash and possibly cause the instrument panel to black out. The car company will upgrade the software for free.
Now, AccuWeather with 13 Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Tim Heller.
And after a somewhat soggy day for a lot of us, it's starting to dry out a little bit.
You know, the nice thing is, even if you did get the rain today, the clouds came in and at least helped to keep the temperatures down a little bit. Made it a little more comfortable. I think tomorrow probably, though, a little more sunshine, which means we're in for a little more heat as well as high temperatures get back up in the upper 80s and low 90s. The rain that was out across the area earlier today is pretty much dried up except for a few showers up around Woodville. But in Houston, we've got a mostly cloudy sky, but it is a dry sky. This is a look at the rainfall distribution across the area earlier today. And we had some more heavier rainfall totals down here across parts of Brazoria County and Galveston County. The shades of green here indicating anywhere from an inch to almost 2 inches of rain from Angleton to the west of Alvin and closer to Pearland. We'll move a little bit closer up here toward Houston. Even in downtown Houston, had a couple of showers today, had several bursts of heavy rain on the east side of town. Same story here up around Bush Intercontinental Airport, anywhere from a half an inch to an inch of rain falling there. And then one more stop will go off here to the north. Look at the heavier showers between Navasota and Conroe. Rainfall here anywhere from an inch, inch and a half of rain west of Huntsville, west of 45. Lighter rainfall totals, however, within the city of Huntsville. Same thing with the Conroe area. Right now, again, things have dried up, and it's really our part of the state, the only part of the state that's been getting rain. If you look carefully, though, you can see a little bit of a spin here in the cloud cover up in Arkansas and Missouri. That's low pressure in the upper atmosphere, and it's really been the circulation around the low that's been helping to draw the moisture up across our part of the state. So as that low moves away, so does our chance of rain. I'm still not going to rule out an isolated shower around here tomorrow still because we're in this warm, muggy air mass, but I've got the rain chance at only 20% for Thursday and Friday. And then there it is, the cool front coming in. That is snow, by the way, falling in the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains. That front moving down to the south and east should probably move through the Houston area Saturday night. I'm thinking about sunset, if not a little bit before then. And you'll know when the front arrives because behind it there's some gusty northwest winds. That will be dropping the temperatures not for Saturday, but for Sunday. So here's what it looks like in the forecast. Still a couple of warm days here. High of 90 for Thursday, 92 for Friday, 20% chance of rain. Saturday, a 40% chance of some showers. That would be late in the day Saturday. And then Sunday, we start off at 61, the high only 79 with gusty winds out of the north at about 10 to 20 miles an hour. And then next week, we're talking lows in the low 50s here for Monday and Tuesday. Slightly different forecast now for Galveston because of the front moving through late Saturday. I still think there could be some clouds, even maybe a few showers in Galveston Sunday morning. So I got a 20% chance in the AM for Galveston. But even here, you'll clear out and you've got the cooler temperatures arriving next week. Enjoy.
A month into football season, we're going to finally get some football weather.
That's right. And Matt Schaub looking to keep his jersey out of the fire as he gets ready for the 49ers. Sports director Greg Bailey here.
He handles all of this beautifully today. Gives him a chance kind of to move forward. Game-changing interceptions, players-only meetings. Texans have a lot on their plate, and so much of that does start with Matt Schaub. How are Schaub and his teammates handling all of this? Next in sports.
Now, 13 Eyewitness News with Sports Director Greg Bailey.
Last time we saw Matt Schaub at the podium, he was ashen-faced while he struggled to explain how or why he threw the interception that doomed the Texans to Sunday's loss. But today, Schaub steps right up with a wry smile, ready for all comers. He admits the loss to Seattle was as tough as any he's faced in his career, but he credits his teammates' support with getting him right back on track.
It's really nice to have. You know, I think any player in that situation, you know, leans on your teammates, leans on your guys in the huddle and in your locker room for some support, and they were right all there. So we're moving forward as a group.
There is more, of course, to the state of the Texans than just Matt Schaub, but number 8 is a big part of that discussion. David Nuno tells us the players have discussed a lot since Sunday's loss.
So you're only as good as your last game. And unfortunately for the Texans, the last 2 games have resulted in a loss. As a show of unity, Arian Foster called for a players-only meeting on Monday, which he wouldn't confirm for us.
No. So I guess you won't tell us what was said in the team meeting?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I think players-only meetings will stay players-only meetings.
I think it was well received, and I think, you know, sometimes those things can go other directions, but, you know, our group, you know, was focused and on the same page. I think it went really well.
Now, Matt Schaub gets most of the blame for the recent collapse, as he should. 3 straight games with a pick 6, and the Texans recognize he's got to make better decisions. But they also say he's played pretty well.
You know, he threw for 355 yards against the #1 defense, so there's a lot of good things going on too. But when you play that position and you make a glaring mistake or two, it's a difference in winning and losing.
Make a big drama about it, but like he plays 2 good games in a row. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something else. So, you know, he's fine, man. We ride it with him.
Now, it is human nature to allow criticism to get to you, but Schaub has a secret formula.
It's pretty easy when you go home to 3 little kids and they have no clue what just happened to you and what you've been through, and you go home to your family, wife and kids, and your support group, and you just kind of get your mind off things as best as you can.
At Reliance Stadium, David Nuno, 13 Eyewitness Sports.
Texans notebook Pro Bowl tackle Dwayne Brown able to go through a light practice today, but still day-to-day with the sprained toe. Linebacker Brian Cushing needs more time even after practicing to get through the NFL's concussion protocol. Starting guard Brandon Brooks does not practice today. He's got his own toe injury. Race to our high school highlights game of the week has racked up over 130,000 votes at abc13.com/high school. Right now, Dawson and Texas City lead it. Marshall and Ridge Point a close second. Still plenty of time to vote. abc13.com. We are live as always from the winner Friday night at 6 and 10. Last stop, a change in training for this weekend's Shell and Pennzoil Grand Prix of Houston. Combination of our Texas heat and a rough track have led some drivers to find new energy drinks as they brace for back-to-back races around Reliance Stadium on Saturday and Sunday.
Going to the gym is going to help me with steering the car around the corner. It's going to be a bumpy track, so the stronger you are, the best it's going to be, the more focused you can stay for the whole weekend. It's 2 races. It's very demanding physically, but very demanding mentally as well.
Eric and Alona, Texas Longhorns without their starting quarterback for Thursday's game. More on that coming up tonight at 10.
All right, all kinds of changes taking place up there. Thanks a lot, Greg. And that's all for Eyewitness News at 6:30.
Our next newscast is coming up at 10 o'clock.
Thanks for watching and have a good night.